The railroad through Liberty County goes right through here, which is parallel with State Route 65. And there's a lot of little dots on the map that I don't think probably have much left, if anything. So we're gonna explore down basically along this railroad. You can see the railroad still here, the old tracks. I tried to look it up before I came out here, but I couldn't really figure out the years of which the railroad was operating through Liberty County. I'm assuming it was pretty busy in the early 1900s. It looks like it's been abandoned for quite a while, and it goes basically right here through the edge of the national forest. So it's interesting to see. I mean, the tracks are still, you're barely visible in some places, and you can, every once in a while you go over a bridge and you'll see an old railroad bridge off to the side, but it literally is right parallel with 65. And we'll head down to all the way to Sumatra, which is basically the south part of the county where the tracks would have gone through. As we follow the railroad south, we come down to Vilas, something like that. And this is where we cross over the Florida National Scenic Trail. And yesterday we actually crossed over in the last video, and over on the kind of eastern side of the county. And this is where there's a trailhead here, and it's also, you can see where the railroad was. There was a post office here in the early 1900s for several decades. So, in these, I found some old maps online that had different railroad stops through the years. And so I don't know if the railroad stops changed, or just if the access to making those maps, how difficult it was trying to figure out what the railroad stops were. But this was one of them that was on the maps originally. It's on my map today. There's really not much else here except for information about the trail, and but there's not really much history about how much of a town there was, or if it was more than just a rural post office. I made it down to the basically southern edge of the county of Sumatra, and yesterday I drove through here on the way to Fort Gadsden. And when you look up Fort Gadsden, it says it's in Sumatra, but it's obviously a little bit south. But this is the nearest community, unincorporated, just like almost every place in Liberty County except for the county seat that will be here in a little bit. But you can tell this was a more significant town, or community at least. It was had a post office until 1960. I'm here on the railroad, which you can see two tracks come through here. So I'm assuming maybe this was a siding, that it was just busy enough that it needed a couple different tracks here for the traffic. And there's business still here in town. There's some old buildings kind of in the downtown area, so definitely an interesting place to stop. mostly just a scenic drive up this way. It's very scenic. I love the tall trees on both sides of the road. It makes for a really enjoyable drive. Most of the traffic that I've seen have been hunters out early. This is a Saturday morning, so they're you can see them in their orange vests kind of everywhere. And other than that, not too much traffic. So obviously I think this is a good place for hunting and fishing, a lot of recreational areas. And obviously, and if you're in Florida and you're gonna, go to a place that's not very populated, and this is gonna be one of the places you're gonna want to go. On my map, it says that down that road is the community of Orange, and obviously can't go that way. So, but I think there's a cemetery not too far up the road. So just down the road, that's where I was parked looking for Orange, and then up the street here, I think there's a church maybe, and there's definitely a cemetery. Actually, as I come up to the middle of the cemetery, there's 1888, and then I saw 1894 right there. So yeah, kind of a mixture of old and more recent. So I went down a back road to look for the next town, and then I saw there might be a cemetery down this road, and it's a dead end. If you go down there, there's a dead end. But I did find the Humility Cemetery. Interesting name. It's a small cemetery. Heading into the unincorporated community of Estefanoga, Florida. It's the oldest continually occupied settlement along the Apalachicola River with a history of more than 400 years. The town translates from Creek to mean all people's bones. At the time of the Revolutionary War, the bends of the river here gave shelter to pirate William Bowles, who sailed to and from Cuba and the Bahamas as well as Pensacola, Florida. With commerce and bounty, he became a respected chieftain of the Creek and Cherokee Nation and schemed to represent the Indians in fair trade with the Spanish, French, and British. Before 1900, riverboats routinely carried passengers from the Gulf of Mexico north to Columbus, Georgia, and they would stop here for an evening of entertainment and a meal of fish, and it was perhaps the earliest record of farming fish. The first part of the day, the towns were all, along the railroad, or what used to be the railroad, and then heading back this way, it seems like most of these towns or communities are here because of the river or a lake or something kind of recreational on the western side of the county. we have eventually made our way over to the county seat of Liberty County, Bristol, and it's the only incorporated town in the whole county. Population around 900, and it's been that way for quite a while. You know, some of those other towns, when you go to other states, they would likely be incorporated of that size. So I'm not quite sure in Florida why maybe those towns aren't incorporated, but Bristol, you know, was started in the 1850s. It's pretty much been the county seat. There was a vote with that and Hosford at one time, and it won the vote and has remained the county seat. You have the county school here. You have pretty much most of the business of the county is here, and it's near the river, and right across the river is Blountstown, and they built that bridge in 1938 to connect the two towns, and before that business was probably a little slower, but once they built that bridge it kind of flowed back and forth a little bit you know, more easily. I'm here at the Veterans Memorial Park. They have a little railroad here. I don't think the railroad ever came through Bristol, and so this is their version of the railroad, and according to the signs on the wall they have train rides, so that would be interesting to see because it looks like a legitimate setup here with how they've set up the rail. But yeah, we'll show you around Bristol as we're getting to the northwest kind of corner, nearing the end of our tour around Liberty County. There are so many churches in Bristol. I just showed you a few. I mean, I had to have seen 15 maybe. Man, that's a lot of churches. Our final stop is Torreya State Park, and it's named after the Torreya tree. It's very rare and found here in this part of Florida. This is the Gregory House. It was a plantation house. It was actually built on the other side of the river from here, and then after the Civil War, like most plantations, it fell into disuse. And then 1933, the Civilian Conservation Corps was established, and they started the work to create this park, and they disassembled the old house and brought it across the river to this location. Well, I'm gonna finish up the day with a little hike out to the rock bluff here at Torreya State Park. It's been a fun couple days exploring around Liberty County. It was different than a lot of the small counties and other states I've been to. It's very beautiful. The national forest is pretty spectacular in places, and some interesting little communities. Not a ton of like old historic buildings, but a few of them, and like the Gregory House here in the park, that was pretty cool. But yeah, really enjoyed Liberty County. What'd you think? The trail kind of just ends over here. It goes back into the woods. And you got that sign. Maybe that's it right there. There's the river. I don't know. Gonna head back. Okay. I thought this meant Rock Bluff to the right, but it means Rock Bluff Camp ahead. Okay. What an idiot I was. Yeah. I made it to the campsite. But you can't really see a lot. I'm guessing there's a view somewhere. I guess we'll keep going. Another campsite. Getting a little bit better of a view. Well, I think this is all the farther I'm gonna go. Thanks for traveling Liberty County with me. I think you can just keep going around this trail, but it's gonna get dark at some point. Bye-bye.